Should I ask her? Am I on your status?
Where is this? Play fix?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, I should tell you. Zodiac.
Okay.
Zodiac. I can't find those shoes.
See?
Okay. Good afternoon, New York. Hello, Rebbitzin Miryam Swerdlov.
Mrs.
Mrs. Miryam Swerdlov.
Well,
If
1 minute.
I say Mrs., you're going to say Rebbitzin. If I say Rebbitzin, you're going to say Mrs.
No. I'm not a controversial figure. Not at all. But we only have 2 Rebbitzins. Mosia and Chana. That's
Good.
it.
Oh, okay, good. Here we go.
That's it.
Not even Rebbitzin Leah Khan?
Well, by the way, no.
No. Okay.
Definitely no.
Okay, good.
Because we respect what we come from.
Good. Okay, Mrs. Miryam Swerdlov, I want to tell you what your yichus is in my mind.
I'm
Okay.
Faye's friend.
That's number 1. Actually, that's number 2. Because I found out about that later. Number 1, your number 1 yichus in my book is that you starred in the Lamplighter video. You remember that?
I'm a little embarrassed. Yes.
We grew up on that video. You understand? We were kids. We watched that video over and over and over again.
I'm so
And
sorry.
It was great. We didn't have anything else to watch. We knew it by heart. You and Basi Gorelik were our 2 heroes.
That's right. Thank
because
you.
of that video.
You know what? I'm in good company then.
It was a good chinuch. It was a good chinuch for Lubavitcher kids. We learned a lot about ourselves.
Thank
and
you.
about Lubavitch. It was very nice. So that's where I met you the first time. Then I heard that you're Faye's friend, and now I feel much closer. You know, it's like finding out that a movie star is actually related to you, or is a friend of your aunt. So that was very, very good. But I want to ask you.
I'm a friend of your Schwigger.
Yes, that's right up there with being friends with Faye. By the way, you and Faye and my mother-in-law, I mean, you're the founding mothers of Lubavitch, of America, of Shlichus, of the kind of stuff that I was born into. You blazed the path in the modern world of Lubavitch, the world that lives in both worlds, the world that speaks English. Nicht azay?
Azay.
So I'm just trying to find where the mute button is here so that when you're talking, I could mute myself. Oh, okay. I don't want, you should have to hear all the noise coming from the background.
It's fine.
So these interviews that we've had, last one was with Reb Moshe Lazar, so geschmack, so enjoyable, talking about the Rebbe as a long time ago. I asked him whether him being friends with the Rebbe, because he was friends with the Rebbe before he became Rebbe. I asked him whether that affected his iskashrus, the fact that he was so close with somebody so lofty, did it affect his reverence? And he said, "What? The Rebbe was not a lofty man. The Rebbe was my father. He was just love. What iskashrus? The Rebbe was like my father." Anyway, it was very raw. It was very, very beautiful. So that's how I'm trying to get over here because of this quarantine. We're all home. I'm fulfilling my lifelong dream to have chassidische dvarim b'teilim with people. So just that, you know, when you sit at a farbrengen, you sit with some of these chassidim and you say, "Tell us a story." No, those stories. You have to tell stories. You have to pull it out like a dentist. You have to pull teeth. But now people are telling stories, and it's very enjoyable. It's not a maimer chassidus, but it's sometimes even more. It could give life. So I want to ask you, if you could, to start from the beginning. Me ayin bosa. Von wann het kommt Ayid?
Your brother sings that song, Von Pahotchik or
My
something.
my
yeah?
my uncle.
Your uncle, yes, I'm sorry.
Pahotzik, yeah.
Yeah, Von Pahotchik. Actually, from Neville, I think, on one side. Well, my kids will argue with you and say they from Stara Sokolniki, not from Neville. My father was a very, very, very Chassidish Sharid. My father embodied what a Chassidish Sharid means. His name was Avi Meiri, Reb Shneir Zalman Butman. He was a Varimiri, there he is, Haita. He was, my father walked on canes and that never stopped him. His expression, I don't think he ever said it in words, but that's how he lived. Nimm die Steckens in die Hände und geh weiter. It doesn't matter that you have canes. Rise above, whatever it is, rise above. Take those canes in your hand because they ain't leaving and keep going and do what you have to. No excuses. A cane is an excuse. There are no excuses. Geh weiter, tu wat du darfst, do what you have to. That's what we lived with. My mother, Imi Meirossi, Yehudis, was Reb Menachem Mendel Schneer's son, was a woman of very high caliber. To my Ledavoni, she went to Shemayim when I was 15 years old. So sometimes I don't know if the stories that I know about her are things that I remember or things people told me. She was a Schneerson. She was an incredible woman. Again, I don't know if it's what people told me or what I remember, but she was above and beyond. And that's the house I grew up in. Didn't grow up yet, just lived in.
And where were you born? In which part of the world?
In the year early 40s, I think it was Reb Nissen, I'm not sure. Asked the Frierdiker Rebbe what we should do, what Lubavitcher should do. I wasn't born yet. And we were told to go east towards Tashkent. Your grandfather was there also, right? Samarkand, Tashkent. When we got to those cities, my father, who, as I said, was an invalid, he walked on canes. He was afraid that he wouldn't get parnosa. So he went even more down to a city called Frunze, today called Bishkek. It's in the province of Kyrgyzia.
I think
So
Avramo
I was
sings
born
about it,
at the end of the war.
At the Frunze Echelon.
That's right. My father knew Reb Yontel Ehrlich very well.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. They were together in Tashkent or in Samarkand or somewhere.
Ah. So you were born in Frunze?
I was born in Frunze, yes.
Right during the war, during World War II?
At the end, in the War of 1812.
Right during the War of 1812, around the same time as Faye. I think Faye was born on...
That's right, the day the war was over.
Right, exactly.
I was born in March, she was born in May.
Yeah. I think the nurses wanted Bubby to name her Victoria.
That's right.
Because
That's
of
right.
my Aunt Victoria. That
That's
would have been
right.
exotic to have an Aunt Victoria.
Yeah, imagine that. She's plenty exotic with the name Faye.
Baruch Hashem. So, how old were you when you left?
I thought you
Europe?
were going to ask how old I was when I was born. I was 2 years old when we left. We went through Lvov, Lemberg, like everybody else, on false Polish papers. None of us spoke a word of Polish. But if you know your history, you know that the Poles said that anyone of their people can come back home. So we all got Polish papers. And I remember my father was a very, very, very smart man. And he told the people in our group, in our echelon, how much bread cost at that time in Poland, so that they should at least, and when they didn't speak the language, they all said they don't speak the language because we only speak Yiddish. That's why we don't speak Polish. We didn't speak Polish because we wasn't Polish. So through Lemberg, Lvov, we went through Europe, and we came to France through Wegscheid and Poking and all of the camps on the way. We came to Paris in 1947, Erev Pesach 1947. I was 2 years old at the time.
So what's your earliest memories of Paris?
Yeah, but I want to tell you a story from before that, an incredible story.
No, I'm ahead.
The story goes to 1935. I wasn't born yet, but it's an unbelievable story, and it sets so many things in the right place. In 1935, my mother's brother, Reb Zalman Schneerson, was advised by the Frierdiker Rebbe, who he was very, very, very close to go towards Paris. My husband said he was secretary for a while, but I don't know exactly, so I don't want to say. That's him. Hi, Vetter Zalman. Was an incredible Jew, an unbelievable Jew. Like most Schneersons, he lived for the people. He was an unbelievable person. Anyhow, in 1935, he was advised to go to Paris. Nobody knew why, it didn't make sense really, but to Paris he went. Please put away a few minutes and listen to this story because it is mind-boggling, I think. For the last Shabbos, I will call him Vetter Zalman from here on in, Uncle Zalman, because that's what we called him. For the last Shabbos that Vetter Zalman was leaving, and in those days, not like today, in those days when someone was leaving Oisland, people knew that most probably they'll never see him again. And so all of my father called them alle Grace, all the big ones came for Shabbos. I think my parents lived in Malachovka at the time, I'm not sure. Or maybe in Moscow, I'm not sure. Reb Levik, who was at that time in Yekaterinoslav, today called Dnepropetrovsk, or Dnepro as they call it now. He was my Uncle Zalman's cousin. He also came for Shabbos. Not he also, he came for Shabbos. It was a big deal. They even look alike.
So the one under you is Reb Levik?
Yes.
Right?
The one with the glasses is Vetter Zalman.
And they were, you said cousins?
My grandfather and the Rebbe's grandfather are brothers.
So these two were.
So the two of them were first cousins.
First cousins, okay.
And they were very close. How you could be then without WhatsApp. And I believe it came for Shabbos. A lot of people came for Shabbos. Now, I'm not going to ask you how much extra linen your wife has, but I'm sure she has extra linen for a few people. My mother had none. And so many people came. And so they went to the local laundry, the laundress, who also rented linen. And they got good puchana blankets and big pillows and gorgeous linen. And they rented it for Shabbos, so she should have for all these people. And of course, Reb Levik got the best bed in the house. He came in, he saw his bed. You never heard this story? It's mind-boggling, I think. He looked at my father and he said, Reb Zalman, dosi deine? This is yours? The linens. So my father said, nein. And his heart fell because he knew what was coming next. Dus hast genommen bei ihm, you took it from someone? My father said, yeah. By Idische? By a Jewish person? My poor father had to swallow hard and say, nein. And Reb Levik said, ich will mein Kopf auf ihr Kissen nicht legen. I will not put my head on her pillow. It's not wow. It's wow. Let's go fast forward to Paris, 1947.
Wait. Before you go further, can't get away with that story so fast. Tell me, you have to I'm surely you understand that this idea of being related to the Rebbe's family is
It's not my
something.
fault.
It's something. It's not your fault, but it's your problem. You get
No,
stuck.
it's my responsibility.
You get stuck explaining things like this to
My
Hamid Abba.
responsibility, not my problem.
Your responsibility. So what I'm asking you is, you heard from your father, who hosted a Blavik in his house, right? Or maybe he didn't sleep on the pillow, but he did stay in the house, right?
Sure.
So what was today we talk about a Blavik, we're talking about the Rebbe's father. The Rebbe's father. In 1935, he wasn't yet the Rebbe's father. What was it a Blavik in your father's mind in those days? What was it a Blavik?
A Makubal.
Yeah.
A hele Kerid. Hecher from Welt. They had a lot of covet for him. And like you said, Rebbe wasn't Rebbe yet. They had a tremendous amount of covet for him. They looked up to the Blavik, at least my father and my Peter Zalman. They looked up to the Blavik. I don't want to go into all the other things that you can ask now, which I'm not going to answer even, because I don't know them, I don't understand them, and I'm not going there.
No, but did they look up that Blavik was considered
No.
an Eltere Chassid of the Rebbe Nishma Seiden?
Not a Rebbe.
No. An Eltere Chassid of the Rebbe Rashab?
Yes, exactly.
They looked up to him in that way?
Du weißt was, ich weiß nicht. I just know that the Blavik to them was a Mohus.
And did your mother know the Rebbetzin Chana? I mean, not in America. I know that I want to talk about Rebbetzin Chana later, but that connection wasn't there.
At that time, no, there was no WhatsApp. There was no telephones.
How did they live?
I don't know. Better than we do.
Better.
I think so. Better.
So the Blavik came because he was coming to say Atzeichem L'Shalom to your Vetter Zalman Schneerson, who was being shipped off to Paris by the Frierdiker Rebbe.
Yes.
Your uncle was older than the Frierdiker Rebbe?
My uncle.
I'm just trying to put everything in perspective.
No, not at all. Not at all. My uncle in 1935, he had a 7-year-old child, I think, yeah?
In 1935.
Yeah. When he was leaving, Hadassah, Karlbach.
35.
Yeah, she was a little girl.
Oh, so he was younger than the Frierdiker Rebbe. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, all right. So the Blavik didn't put his head on the linen.
I just want to say something.
Yeah.
I don't want to get people mixed up, but I want to say something which I find that it's mamisha connection. In 1947, and I guess we'll go back to it later if you want to, it's up to you. The Rebbe came to Paris to take Rebbetzin Chana home. Rebbetzin Chana stayed in our house. The Rebbe didn't. The Rebbe stayed in a hotel, Edward VII. Whoever went to see the Rebbe in his hotel room realized that the bed was never slept in.
This is
you hear me?
It's a tradition from his father.
I would imagine.
So you're talking about this time.
That's right. That's our house.
So you remember this?
I was 2 years old.
So
Do you think I'm part of the Frierdiker Rebbe's underground?
Can't you at least pretend?
No.
When did
I
you
do
leave
remember
Paris?
some things, but not this.
When did you leave
That's
Paris?
Rebbe Shem Tov. That's Grinya Slavin and Yosef Slavin. That's Aaron Zakon. And that's Rebbetzin Chana and, of course, the Rebbe. I remember stories from then. I could tell them to you later when we talk.
So okay. So how many years were you in Paris? Grand total.
7
From 2 until 9.
till yeah. We left
Okay.
Paris. That's right, 7 years.
So by the time you left, you were speaking French.
Hey, we.
Yeah. See,
Don't
I
ask
already
anymore.
like
I only know how to say "mais oui." No, I speak French.
Okay, that's something new. I didn't know.
Mais oui.
Okay, all right. Now you can go further. You were going to go further with another story. Fast forward, you said.
No, you asked.
I interrupted you because you said that you were going to go forward to another story.
I just wanted to tell the story that the Rebbe didn't
Oh,
put
that
his
the Rebbe
head
also didn't put
on
his
the
head down.
pillow in the Edward the 5th, the 7th. In Paris, the way his father didn't. And you don't know how often I travel and I go to hotels and I put my head in many pillows. And you don't know how often I think to myself, Rabbeinu de Alme Kule, what was on this pillow before me?
Yeah. I'm going to show you a picture, and I'm going to ask you who you recognize and what you could tell me about these people. Okay, because I'm going to ask you questions, but if you get into an idea of something you want to tell me, just start. Okay, don't wait for the shayla.
Okay.
It's not the night of the seder. So I don't know if you can see this picture clear enough.
Okay. Rabben Shem Tov standing in the back.
Yeah. So
sitting down is, I know his name. No, it was a
from
genius.
right to left, you're going from right to left.
Sitting down on this side. That's his grandson, who's named for him, is a shliach in Toronto. His name is Ele. Okay, it's going to drive me crazy. Plotkin. He passed away, by the way, in our house on Dischudyur. The Levaya was in our house. And I remember to this day his Rebbetzin with her hands on the wagon.
And that's his grandson in Toronto?
That's his grandson. Yeah, I think so. It's his grandson.
Okay. And who's sitting next to him?
I'm trying to see. Over here is Minkovich, I think. I don't see very well.
Yeah, the picture is coming up smaller than I would have wanted it to. Let me see if I can make this better. Hold on a second. That's a little bit better?
Same size, I think. And I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Okay, so let me ask you about some of the names that I recognize. I think that there's a Blazinski at the table.
He went to Israel afterwards. I don't know.
And there's Shlomo Chaim Kesselman.
Also went to Eretz Israel.
Okay, so
you have to understand, if they stayed in Paris, then I would know. But Blazinski went to Ramat Gan, and Shlomo Chaim went to Kfar Chabad or wherever else he went to, but I don't remember.
And what about Rabben Shem Tov?
Oh, well, that you all know. I don't have to tell you about Rabben Shem Tov.
Well, we all know hearsay. I want to hear Adis.
No, I think I'll leave it.
So, and what about Plotkin? I mean, these were tziyurim. Of Chassidus.
Okay, so Plotkin was. We can't even imagine the tziyur of his knowledge, of his Torah, and of his depth, and of his. It was a name that you washed your hands before you said it. You know, you really should interview my brother, Shmuel Butman.
You know,
or my older brother, or Schomberg, because they know, I don't.
Well, you know what you know.
Yeah, okay.
They don't know what you know. But the idea that you grew up at a time right after the Holocaust, so your childhood was surrounded by survivors, both of the Holocaust and of the Soviets. So you grew up in an environment that was kol kula Mesidus Nefesh.
That's right.
100% Mesidus Nefesh.
So let me tell you something.
Yeah, tell me.
When Vetter Zalman Schneerson came to Paris in 1935. He didn't really know why he was there. He got a house, I don't know, the Joint Distribution Committee at that time, it wasn't it yet, but whoever it was, the company that dealt with the Jews, gave him a magnificent home near Place de la République, in one of the best places in Paris. An interesting address, 10, number 10, Rue Dieu, God Street. And then the war hit. You know that the Germans walked into Paris, marched into Paris, goose-stepped their way into Paris, walked through the Champs-Élysées without firing one shot. And Paris fell to the Germans. And Vetter Zalman, family history, took 9 trucks of children and Svarim and ran to the south of France. He had no money. He borrowed from everywhere. He saved the children of Paris, and he took them to the south of France. I was once sitting on an airplane. It's a terrible story. I was sitting on an airplane next to a woman a little bit older than me, and she's reading Guy de Maupassant in the original French. But she spoke perfect English. So I said, "You're reading this in French?" She said, "Yes." "You were in Paris during the war?" She said, "Yes." I said, "Are you a Schneerson child?" She said, "How did you know?" I said, "Well, how else did you survive if you're not a Schneerson child?" She said, "Of course I'm a Schneerson child. It's the way I survived." "You knew him?" she said to me. I said, "Zalman, Vetter Zalman was my uncle." And I'm not going to tell you who the lady is because it's not a nice story. I said to her, "Tell me something about my uncle." And tears were emotional. That's how we were born. And tears are coming down my eyes. I said, "Tell me something about my Vetter." And she said, "He was a very angry man." I said, "What? What?" She said, "Well, in the morning, please open your hearts and listen to this. It's incredible." She said, "In the morning, we slept in the forest. And Rav Schneierson," she called him, and Rav Schneierson insisted that we gieß Negelwasser before we get up, even if we were sleeping in the forest under trees. He too, by the way, walked on a cane. He had 1 foot shorter than the other. So he used to go every morning to a brook and he walked like this, and came schlepping Negelwasser for every child under the tree. And she said to me, and when we got up without the Negelwasser, Rav Schneierson was very angry. I said, "And that's why you decided that Rav Schneierson was an angry man. What about the fact that he changed your life?" But she was a little girl. You know what? She was a little girl. And he must have gotten angry at her more than once.
That's unbelievable.
He changed the world then.
But it was
9 trucks of Sfarim, and there were terrible stories. One morning, they were waiting for the bread to come. And the bread didn't come. The bread was late. And my Vetter Zalman saw a truck from far, and I told you, he walked like this. So he sent 2 children to get the bread. It wasn't a bread truck. It was the Gestapo. And those 2 kids were killed. And he could never live with himself after that. But he was an incredible person.
But he saved so many people to the point
Yes.
that there was a group of children that they called themselves the Schneerson kids.
The Schneerson kid, Schneierson. Schneierson.
Did he?
Yes.
I know this is a speculation of the lowest kind, but did he figure that was why the Frierdiker Rebbe sent him there?
Most probably. I mean, nobody knows anything. But
Right.
in 35, when he went, nobody knew why they were going there. What for?
Right.
And I have to tell you, and after that, he had to repay all that money.
Yeah.
I think it's an incredible story. So he went to the United States. When the Rebbe came to Paris, Vetter Zalman wasn't there anymore. He had already gone to the United States. The war had been over 2 years. He went to the United States to make money. The only one that was there was his wife, Muma Sora. By the way, Rebbe Tzimchana came to Paris with terrible ulcers in her legs. Terrible infected ulcers. And my aunt, Muma Sora, Vetter Zalman's wife, would wash her legs every morning and put on fresh cream and rebind them. Wow. Anyhow, Vetter Zalman went to America to make money. And in the meantime, one day there was a knock on our door at Disrudieu. My parents were there and my aunt Sora. And 2 fellows came in. I remember this like today. And they had big yellow, what's that called? Baking papier. And they wrote down everything we had in the house because they were going to come and take it and sell it so they can make up for the money that Reb Zalman Schneerson owned. And they came and they took everything away. My brother Shmuel, Mula, and I were little kids, and we were taken to Hotel Modern, 49 Rubisha, by the other Lubavitch Chassidim that were living there, so we shouldn't be in the house when they're carrying out everything we had. We came home. There was a little rickety card table, what today is known as a card table. We had in the house a round wooden table that today would be $20,000 easy. Heavy wood, 24 chairs around it. Imagine the size of that room. I think it was 24. Leather chairs with okay, I can't think of the word, nails on the side, leather, heavy chairs. They took everything. In this room was a little rickety table. My mother somehow saved a bedspread. A bedspread was on this table. And because of who she was, there was a glass vase with roses on this table. My brother and I walked in. We saw this. We were crying terribly. And as my mother later explained, that furniture doesn't make a home, that it doesn't matter that they took everything away. The family is still here and we're going to be okay. And we were. Just a little picture of Mesiras Nefesh in those days.
I'm sorry for the klutz kasha.
That's okay.
But they took your parents' stuff away because of debts owed by your uncle?
The house was his.
Oh, you were staying in.
We happened to be, this is Disrudieu, it belongs to Zalman Schneerson.
Oh, and he was in America.
We were there. We were staying. It's not a klutz kasha. It makes it clear to other people. You're 100% right. The house was Vetter Zalman's. It was the joints, but it was his, not ours. We were just there.
And his wife watched it happen.
And his wife watched Rebbe Tzimchana's feet, yes. And the Rebbe would come twice a day to see his mother.
In Paris?
Yeah.
47.
He stayed near L'Opéra. Like I said, look up the hotel. It's George VII. I went to see it.
George or Edward or George?
Edward, I'm sorry. Edward. All those kings make me nervous. Edward VII. So I have a picture of it on my phone. And he walked every day to see his mother, twice a day. And just an interesting thing, when he left, he was there for Erev Pesach. So Oder Nisan Iyar Sivan, right after Shavuos, he left. He came to America again on Chof Ches Sivan. And interesting, on Yud Nisan, Rabbi Tzachana said to my father, Reb Zalman, ihr weißt, dass morgen is mine, and she said the Rebbe's name, Yom Holedes. None of us knew that it was the Rebbe's birthday, Yud Aleph Nisan. Remember, he was called a Ramash then, yeah? None of us knew. And I can't get over my mother and my aunt. 3 days, 4 days before Pesach, and nobody used paper plates, yeah? Made a farbrengen. And that's the famous farbrengen. I'm sure you heard of it, where the Rebbe sat and asked everybody what their name was and told them what their name meant. And it was like exact. That was the farbrengen in our house on Yud Aleph Nisan. And for Pesach, he was very, very careful with kashrus, of course. So me, my brother, and the Rebbe had different plates and different goplach and leflach. Me and my brother, for different reasons, of course, in case we dropped, ours wasn't kosher, in case we dropped matzah or something, so that was red. The Rebbe's with new fodim, how do you say fodim? Thread. The Rebbe's were blue, I think, because he ate very little. And he spent Pesach in our house, Pesach Tovshin Zayin.
And you remember?
Before he went back. Do you want to ask anything in between?
You remember that, or you don't remember
Yes.
that?
No, I remember that.
So you remember
I'll
that?
tell you something else I remember. I was 2 years old, and they say I was a very smart 2-year-old. I think I remained a very smart 2-year-old. That was funny. And I would sing a lot. There was one song I liked very much. It had to do with food. Essen, essach, trinken, trinksach. Was allemaal done as a dansach niet, but those aren't the words I use. I was 2. So I sang Ami, Ami, Pipi, Pipi, Tolki, Gangi, Nai, Nai, Nai. And the Rebbe liked to hear me sing it, and I sang it a lot.
With the tune of Esnester.
Yeah, of course. I would sing for you, but I don't want to make your program X-rated. I'm telling it to you for a reason. And then in Sidon, the Rebbe left, and he gave each one of us a present. The presents were incredible. They fit every single one of us, what we became. My mother, Alaa Shalom, and my Muma Sora. You had to see our breakfast table. You have to see even today our Shabbos tables. They're not American with plastic plates and little plastic cups, believe me. It's not how we grew up, and that's not how we are. My mother set a table, it was Kiyad HaMelech. He brought her a set of dishes, hexagon, 8. Magnificent dishes. To a balabosta par excellence. My father, Avi Meiri, Reb Shneir Zalman, Ben Reb Yisrael Baruch Butman, he gave him a teireir. My brother Shalom Ber, it was his bar mitzvah year, gave him a bichel chassidus. My sister Leah, the one that you almost called Rebbitzin, who has a Beltam Chang of the whole world. Some people see this, Leah sees this. He gave her a stamp album with stamps of the world. When I went back to Paris, not long ago, right near Opera, right near where the Rebbe's Hotel was, there's a lot of stamp album stores and stamp stores. Me and my daughters went into every single one of them because I thought maybe this one, maybe this one, maybe this one, that the Rebbe bought it there. My brother Shmuel Muller was a mover and shaker, and got him a bicycle. And me, he bought, I was 2, he bought a top that went up and down with a round thing, brrr, and made noise. And my brother, being my brother, said, "Weil du bist a kurze, und a grobe, und du pischest, und du dreissach, und du gehst ergens nicht. You're short and fat, and you go round and round, and you make a lot of noise, and you don't go anywhere. So I have to tell you, I don't know how many years ago, it happened twice. I spoke at Neshei Chabad big convention in Binyanei Ha'uma, and your niece, I forgot her name, Alec's daughter, but I don't remember, your cousin.
Canada.
I don't remember, forgive me. She was single then. She got married since then. A thin, bright, beautiful little girl. She was chairman. And she got up and she told this story. And she said, and the reason that I ever gave Miryam Swerdlov that thing is because she goes all around the world and doesn't need electricity. She makes her own. Thank you, Honey Friedman, or whatever Friedman you are, for straightening that out for me.
So I'm going to show you a picture of the Rebbe, and you tell me if this is how you remember the Rebbe from Paris, okay?
Sure.
Tell me what's different.
I was 2. You can't ask me that question. I need to finish my story, though. 7 years later, do me a favor, take away the Rebbe's picture. It's hard for me to talk.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry. 7 years later, we went into Yechidus. We got off the boat February the 16th, 1954. Because of my mother's being who my mother was, we got Yechidus the same night. We walked into Yechidus, and my mother, who didn't know, the Rebbe told her to sit down. So she was about to sit down. She doesn't know. She knows about Rebbe, he sitzt und sitzt man. Well, my brother Schoenberg grabbed her by the elbow, that she felt it for weeks afterwards, and she figured out she's not supposed to sit down. And the first thing he said to us, open your hearts, everybody. Kinder, ihr gedenkt mir, ich gedenk euch gut. Children, do you remember me? I remember you well. And he turned to me and he said, du singst noch gerne Liederle? Do you still sing that song? That's why I told it to you before. And I keep thinking to all of you out there, that any minute that Rebbe's coming back, and he's going to say to all of us, Kinder, ihr gedenkt mir? Do you remember me? Ich gedenk euch gut. I remember you well. And we're all going to say, yeah, Rebbe, mir gedenken. We remember. We still talk about you all the time. Our children know everything about you. They say psukim because you wanted it. They go on Mitzrayim because you want it. They end up in Calabasas, California. Who the heck goes to Calabasas, California? Because that's what you wanted, Rebbe. I have a nephew in Phnom Penh, Cambodia. Why? Because you want it, Rebbe. Shlomo ben Tulila is in Zaire. Why? Because you want it, Rebbe. And millions of other things, because you want it. That's why we're doing it. No other reason.
You know, there was a set of Sfarim called Yemei Melech. Remember it?
Yeah, sure.
It's an unauthorized biography of the Rebbe. And in that sefer, I read it a long time ago, and I'm pretty sure I remember it correctly. But it says there in that sefer that when the Rebbe came to Paris to get his mother in 1947, so by the way, the Rebbe came on an airplane, which I don't think a lot of people know. The Rebbe didn't take a ship. He flew on an airplane across the ocean.
I have a story about that too.
Okay, so but it says when the Rebbe met his mother, the Rebbe hadn't seen his mother in how many years?
20
years. That they stood in an embrace for 20 minutes.
That's right.
Yes?
That's right, in front of our house. The story goes as follows.
No.
We got a telegram that he's coming at 7 o'clock in the evening. That morning, Rebbe Chana woke up and she was very nervous. She hadn't seen her son in 20 years. We don't understand what that means. 20 years. The furthest my child away is Yossi is in Eretz Yisrael. I see Yossi twice a year, 3 times a year.
And she had missed the Rebbe's wedding.
Yeah, well, of course. And she went through hell. She went through hell.
Since she last saw him.
And she left her husband in Almata, in a horrible place. Have you been?
She left him buried there, you mean?
Yes, but it's horrible. It's horrible. I was there. It's horrible. You walk through 10 minutes through Goyim, 10 minutes. I walk slow, 5 minutes through Goyim. Then you finally get someplace where there's 2.5 Eden. And that's where she left him. Today they made a Ahel and
in the cemetery
there. They say that she used to go to his Ahel and say, Gracer Mensch, abemenos tu mir gelos. Big person, who did you leave me on? She went through all this by herself.
Because the Soviets exiled her.
That morning.
The Soviets exiled her, just for the context for the audience. The Soviet Union exiled her husband, the Leivik.
1938.
They exiled him to this hole in the wall, and he basically starved to death over there. He got sick and he passed away because of that exile. And that's where she lost. That's where she lost him. Yeah. And then she came to Paris, and she hadn't seen the Rebbe in 20 years, and she hadn't seen him since he got married.
That's right. She woke up that morning. She was very nervous. So I think it's very cute. I hope I don't get shot for this. My aunt said to her, what would you say to a woman today who's very nervous and she needs to do something? Let's go shopping. She came in old clothes. She came with nothing. So my aunt said she thought it would be a good idea to take her away and go someplace. She said, I think it's called, a hat. So she went. The telegram said that Rebbe was coming at 7 o'clock in the evening. 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I think it was. Grinye and Yosef Slavin. Yosef Slavin is the father of Bronya Schaefer, in case any of you know who she is. And Grinye Slavin were outside, and a taxi stopped. And a very, very distinguished looking man came out. Now today, my great-grandson is here with us. Ask him who the Rebbe is. He looks at the wall, he knows who the Rebbe is. Every one of our children, from the time they're babies, know what the Rebbe looks like. In those days, it was a Ramash. Nobody knew what he looked like. But a taxi stopped, and a very, very distinguished gentleman came out, and they understood. They walked over to him and said, "Ir seid der Ramash." That's what we called him then. Reb, the Rebbe's name, Schneerson. So the Rebbe smiled, the shy smile, and said, yeah. What was his first question? Wo die Mama? Now, the Mama was shopping with Sarah Schneerson. So they said, sie ist nicht da, she's not here. So here there are two versions of the story. One version is that he went inside to daven mincha. There was a shul in that same house. And the other version is that he stayed and he waited. But he was outside. When she came around the corner, I know that corner well. And they met each other after 20 years. We don't even understand that. First of all, we don't understand 20 years. Second of all, we don't understand the depth of the feelings of these kind of people. Each one of us feels differently. And I think that bigger people feel bigger. I may be wrong, but I've been wrong before and I'll be wrong again. But the bigger the people, the more they understand feelings. The bigger the people, the more they understand depth. The bigger the people, the more they understand what they lost. And those two people stood there together for a long time. Wow.
That's unbelievable. Unfortunately, it's all because of tsaras. It's all
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
wars but on the other hand, it's unbelievable. So the Rebbe stayed in Paris then with his mother for how long? A few months?
From Erev Pesach to from Erev Pesach to after Shavuos.
A few weeks.
No,
A
make a
couple of months. Yeah.
from Pesach to Shavuos by us. I mean, it used to be 7 weeks. Yeah, I think about 3 months.
Yeah. Okay, so then I have to ask you the obvious question.
I'm trying to figure out what's the obvious
I'm
question.
going to ask you the same question I asked Moshe Lazar. You're talking about a person that was basically like an adopted uncle when you were a little kid.
No,
He bought you toys, he
No.
bought you presents.
no. He was the Ramash. He was no adopted uncle. Rav Moshe Lazar maybe had a different. No. He was the Ramash.
So you tell me he never sat in Shemuz with you?
I was 2 years old.
With you guys?
I sang the niggin sitting, I don't want to say.
On his
Here.
lap?
Yes. But he was the Ramash. He was no adopted uncle. And by the way, the Rebbe was a very, 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 very private person.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, he was no uncle. He was the Ramash. My father shook from him. He called him Rav Schneerson. By the way, my father's birthday is Rosh Chodesh Nisan. The Rebbe is Yud Aleph. So the Rebbe said to him, 11 Tag sagen wir demselben Kapitel. Do you know how many times my father would repeat that? Der Rebbe hat mir gesagt, 11 Tag sagen wir demselben Kapitel. Everything the Rebbe said was, and he was Ramash then, he wasn't Rebbe, but it was, we didn't just take it like this. Do you understand what I'm saying?
No.
He was
In fact, it's very, very unrelatable. It's a beautiful thing.
You know why?
It's amazing.
Because you're American and you grew up on cornflakes and Rice Krispies.
And fruity
With bananas inside, maybe.
to add texture.
It's a whole different world.
But look, in those days, Ramash was a mystery. Am I wrong? Ramash was a
I don't
mystery.
know,
He
it's
was
true.
a private person.
It
But your
was-
father had so much
This is
that.
Ramash. This is the Redim. This is the Rebbe's Edim. This wasn't you want to have a cup of tea? No. This wasn't no Haberlap. When they walked into his hotel room, they walked in. It was Koche Kochim. Are you following me?
I'm following you.
You know, it's Amerikaner and the gegessen cornflakes.
Chocolatnikis.
That's right.
So
Or more, or less.
did your father?
My children today are chocolatnikis. For sure. It has to be the good milk kind.
from Switzerland.
Yeah, it can be junk. Yeah.
So your father had I know you said that Rebbe was a private person, but did your father had a connection with the Rebbe then? Not a friendship, but
I'll tell you one story.
yeah.
They went every day, not every day, but whenever they had to make papers for the Rebbetzin. Aita, wasn't he gorgeous? They went to make paper. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. They went to make papers for the Rebbetzin. So they went by train. My father got on the train and he paid for his ticket. The Rebbe was in shock. He went into his pocket and he took out a kartichke, we called it. It's a Ravkav. How do you say it? You buy 10 and you get 12.
Okay.
In other words, you get 2 free tickets. He said to him, Reb Zalman, HaKadosh Baruch Hu choso al momenam shel Yisrael. God is careful with Jewish money. You're throwing out like this. He says, Ich hab ständig in Keshenet zwei. I always have 2. So when one is finished, there's another one there always. Stam to waste money? What does that mean? That the Rebbe was chas v'sholem a miser? No. He was a very durchgetrachter Mensch on every everything. He was a. Does anybody understand what I'm saying?
So your father was one of the Rebbe's earliest chassidim. That's what I'm gathering.
You can say whatever you want.
Like that.
My father was in general a chassid. My father was a chassidish reed. That's what he was.
Yeah. Amazing.
Incredible man, by the way, an incredible man.
Why? Maybe this is inappropriate, but why was he on Steckens his whole life?
Oh, stupid story. Stupider than stupid. Came from a little town called Stare Sokolniki. He fell off a swing. He broke his knee. There were no doctors. His father, Rabbi Yisrael Baruch, took a towel and some rope and straightened out his knee and said, "This wird gut wachsen." The knee never grew in. So the knee was always, you understand? This didn't bend. So he walked on canes. When he came to Paris, I always tell my kids the story. They said to him, we could straighten it out. He said, "Was wird dit done? What are you going to do?" They said, "Wir nehmen a hammer, mit zu brechen de Knie, und mit das ausgleichen. We'll take a hammer, we'll break your knee, and we'll straighten it out." He said, "If wir brechen die Piece," he saved hundreds of Jews in his echelon. He was a macher and a dreyer with the pictures and with the papers and with the passports and noch dem, was ich bin durchgegangen, wat ihr mir jetzt brechen die Piece? After what I went through, you're going to break my leg now? You should have done it. You should have done it, but he didn't. He was 40-something years old. He should have done it, but he didn't.
Did you hear the story when you were younger, or did you learn it with everybody? The story about your uncle Reb Zalman Schneerson had an orphanage, and the kids from the orphanage remember this man coming through to visit. They called him Monsieur. I'm sorry. I'm not going to try to say that. What's the story?
I don't know the story. I know that the Rebbe helped him.
And that the kids called the Rebbe
Monsieur. Because he never said what his name is. I don't think it was in the Kinderheim. I think it was in the south of France when they were running. It was not in Paris. It wasn't in the Kinderheim. I don't think so.
But 1 second, the orphanage that he ran, he ran an orphanage in Paris before the war?
All those children.
Yeah.
All
he
those
rescued
children that came back were put in an orphanage
after the war, you're talking about.
Israel to look for their parents. I was in that orphanage as a child.
Right. No, you're right. That story was during the war in the south of France. That's the way the
That's
kid
what I
told
said.
the story.
It wasn't in the orphanage. The orphanage was in Paris. This was not in the orphanage.
No, right.
That was in the south of France, not in the orphanage.
So when your uncle moved to Paris, the Rebbe was already there, right?
The Rebbe came, you mean the second time?
No, in 1935.
In 35, you know what? I don't know that part. Read my brother Muller's book.
So your family's history with the Rebbe, as opposed to the Friedrich Rebbe, the Rebbe Rashab, Lubavitch, your family's history with the Rebbe goes way back, way deep into the Ramash days. That's amazing. And history with Rebbe Zechana goes all the way back there to Paris. But the Friedmans, my family, I never met Rebbe Zechana.
I know. Long before 14 President Street.
Right, but so because of that, the way I heard my grandparents talk about her, and the way I hear my father talk about her, I feel very close to her, to Rebbe Zechana.
As you should.
I just spoke to Rabbi Zeilengold a few weeks ago. Rabbi Zeilengold is from Minnesota. I don't know if you know Usher Zeilengold.
I know him well.
So he told us a story that he was standing outside the Rebbe Zechana's apartment, and the Rebbe pulled up from the oil in the car. And Rebbe Zechana was sitting in the garden. And when the car pulled up, she stood up, and the Rebbe came out of the car, and she said to the Rebbe something like, "You have to go home, you have to eat. Get home." So the Rebbe smiled at her and said, "Why should I go home?" She said, "You didn't eat yet." He said, "Why do you think I didn't eat yet?" She said, "Because you're coming from the oil." The Rebbe said, "How do you know I'm coming from the oil?" She said, "Big Krinsky is there." I mean, the Rebbe used to walk to her house, right? And here the Rebbe drove up to her house. She said, "What are you talking about? You just came from the oil. Go home and eat." And the Rebbe started laughing. And Rabbi Tzachana was laughing. Rabbi Krinsky was laughing. Rabbi Zalman was describing such a beautiful scene with the Rebbe.
Warm. Yes.
Yeah. So, people ask you sometimes, if you could go back in history and meet anyone, who would you like to meet? People ask you this. I would like to meet Rabbi Tzachana.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
Interesting.
For whatever.
We can all help give her to you. She was incredible.
So
when I was 15, my mother passed away. So Rabbi Tzachana took a very personal interest in me. At my wedding, she sat to my right, where my mother would have sat. And after I had my oldest daughter, her name is Yudi Friedman, I would go for a walk with her, and I would meet Rabbi Tzachana on the corner of President and Kingston, and we would walk together up and down. And she was interested in every little thing. She asked me one day, "Dein Mann helft dir? Does your husband help you?" I went home and told Label, "Rabbi Tzachana says you should help me a lot." He did anyhow. Rabbi Tzachana was an incredible woman. Unbelievable. And one day she noticed that I was expecting. And she asked me if it's going to be hard for me. My children are 13 months apart. And very sad. My second daughter's name is Chana. She was born in Tavis right after the Rebbetzin passed away.
What day?
What?
What day in Tavis?
She was Zion, but it doesn't matter. I mean, the Rebbetzin is Vav Tishrei.
But Zion Tavis is my anniversary.
Oh, happy anniversary.
I'm going to put up a picture of Rebbe Tzachana.
She was a beautiful woman.
Yeah. Did you tell that story about the makeup? Did you make a big mess with her makeup? Was that you?
Maybe you shouldn't bring up things you shouldn't bring up. It wasn't hers. It was the lady that worked for her.
That's right.
I made a big mess. Tell
me the story.
Go away.
How did you end up in the house sitting in the Rebbe Tzachana?
Go away.
Okay, we'll come back to that.
No, we won't. It's nothing. I'll tell you the story.
Tell me the story.
Not the whole story, but just the concept. Rebbe Tzachana had a woman in her house that took care of her. Just somebody should be there. She shouldn't be alone.
This is in New York, in Brooklyn.
Yeah, this is at 1418 President Street.
Yeah.
And the woman was going to a wedding. Rebbe Tzachana and my sister Leah spoke on the phone every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. And Rebbe Tzachana said that she's going to be alone that night. And Leah said, "No, I'm not going to let you be alone. I'm going to send Medalah, which is me. And she'll come over and she'll be there." And I came over and I sat in that lady's room. And she had a 3-way mirror, which I never saw. So I could see the back of my hair. I was maybe 11. And she had a little box that I wanted to know what was in there. And I pulled the box, and guess what was in there? Face powder. And it went all over the place. And just then Rebbe Tzachana came in, and I was crying because I didn't know what to do. And I'm not going into detail. And Rebbe Tzachana said, "Ich will gehen bringen 2 Trapjes. I'm going to go bring 2 schmattes to Eina nasa und eina trukena, a wet one and a dry one. Mir wollen das ausreinigen. We're going to clean it. Und mir in keinem dit erzählen, and we're not going to tell anyone. She didn't scream at me. By the way, I should have told you before, when she walked in, she for a split second, her eyes were, let's go. And right away, there was a smile. And we both cleaned it up. Me with my tears, I think. And you know who I was scared of? Her son and my sister. So we were still okay after that. But I was never asked to go again.
Made sure of that. How old were you then?
11. Or 19, whatever. No.
You're not gonna like this question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway.
Okay.
Do with it as you wish. What do you see in the Rebbe from Rebbe Tzimchana?
Why would I not like it? I'm not deep enough to answer it.
That's what I thought you were gonna. I thought you were gonna brush it off. But
I'm not brushing it off. I'm a chassid.
Yeah.
I don't look at the Rebbe like that, and that's not how I look at her. That's not how we're chassidim. We're not psychologists. We don't take our Rebbe apart. What are you? You're eating way too much chocolate and way too much Rice Krispies. What kind of food is this?
Tell me more about Rebbe Tzimchana, please.
I'll tell you a story.
You can't be a Maineya bar, even if you don't like my questions.
I don't hear you.
You can't be a Maineya bar, even if you don't like my questions.
No, but I can only tell you what I know. I can't stam drehen. When she came to the United States, the Rebbe wanted her to stay in his house. And she said, no. Listen well. Weil der erste Nein ist der geringste. Because the first snow is the easiest. It doesn't have strings attached. When you say no before you move in, you say no because you want your own daladamas. She wanted her own daladamas. If you say no chas v'sholom after you move in, that has strings. So I always tell this story to women. I always tell them, say no right away if you feel that you can't do something. Don't say yes because you think that you need to do and you need to, and people should know that you didn't. And then afterwards you say no, or you don't complete it. Come on. Examine what you can do and what you can't do. Dos y dos. Dos alles. And she really cared. She really, really cared. She used to call me how I am, how the baby is. She treated me like I was a Yesema without a mother, which is what I was. Though my sister Leah was the most incredible mother to me. And my brother Shalom Ber and his wife Dveda were incredible to me. But Rebbe Tzimchana took an active role, a very active role. Yeah.
She took an interest in your schooling.
Yeah. She took an interest, period. So whatever it was that you had to take an interest in, she took an interest in everything. How long does this interview take?
Until I run out of questions, or until you run out of answers.
Why don't you run out of questions? So
I want to show you a picture of somebody, and you tell me if you have something to share about them or not. One second. Rebbe Tzimchana was involved in your shidduch?
No.
But she was there to say mazel tov when you got engaged.
Yeah. I told you, she sat to my right. Reb Shmuel Levitin, very little. I know who it is, that's all. I mean, I knew he was a very smart man, and the daughter-in-law Shirley treated him like king, and He slept in her dining room. But Shirley is my next door neighbor. And that I know, that he literally slept in the dining room. And she brought him Negelwasser on a wood floor and it would get wet. And he was an incredible man, but that's all I know.
I don't have a picture, but I wanted to ask you if you knew a chassid named Itche Golden.
Golden?
Golden.
Rabbi Golden was my father's best friend.
Oh,
He had a bracha under the chuppah by me. And he was like an uncle. Rabbi Golden started Beis Rivka. I have to tell you the story because it's hysterical. I taught in Beis Rivka on Stone Avenue, 400 Stone Avenue. And Beis Rivka then too didn't pay their teachers. Now they're better. One morning, I lived at 576 Eastern Parkway between New York and Nostrand. There is a ring in my bell at 7 o'clock in the morning. I go and I look in the little peephole. I give a look, Rabbiche. I opened the door. I said, Rabbiche, was tut ihr da? Sie mal sagen in der Früh. He says to me, ich hab gehört, the teachers gehen streiken. I heard that the teachers are going to strike. Hab ich dir gebracht a Checkl. So I brought you a check. Ihr sollt nicht streiken. And then he said, aber beleg es nicht, but don't put it in the bank. So he brought me a check, but I couldn't deposit it. I think I still have it somewhere.
Hast du gestreikt?
Rabbi Golden was a piece of heart. I loved him as a child. Him Taten's chaver. Another chaver of them Tatens was Rebbe Avrom Ayor. And whenever my father talked about Rebbe Avrom, he said, Amalach, Amalach, Amalach. Well, one day I was a little girl and Rebbe Avrom came to the house and I kept looking. So the Tata says, was suchst du? Sag ich, die Flieglach. I didn't understand. I was a child. Avrom is Amalach, Amalach, Amalach.
You're looking for wings.
Yeah, that's right. I was looking for the wings.
So you must have been the witness to Farbrengens of the most beautiful caliber. Your father with Avram Mayor, with Rabbi Golden, with these people these Farbrengens were happening when you were a kid. Who else was sitting at these Farbrengens?
There was a lot of mashke going on.
Who else was sitting at these Farbrengens? You remember?
I don't remember. There was a lot of stuff going on. But they were real chassidishim.
Yeah.
This was the la crème de la crème. There was no, forgive me, there was no cornflakes. There was no Rice Krispies, and there was no chocolate. This was the real stuff.
So you remember anything from these Farbrengens? You give us some.
No, of course not. No.
Scene.
But I want to tell you something. The cornflakes people and the Rice Krispies people and the chocolate people are bringing Mashiach. They're changing the world. You guys are changing the world. So maybe we're standing on the shoulders of giants, but you guys are changing the world. I always say that Rebbe sends out 20-something-year-old boys, kids, with a 21-year-old wife, but it says, Ich fahr mit euch, I'm going with you, and you're changing the world. Wow. I see my children, my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, they're changing the world. Look at you, look what you and your brothers are doing. Baruch Hashem.
Baruch Hashem.
The Rebbe's lucky.
You enjoyed.
It's a silly thing to say, but the Rebbe's lucky. He has incredible children.
We're pretty lucky too.
Oh, well, that's of course.
Yeah.
But look at us. 26 years after Gimel Tammuz, look at us. I have a friend in Williamsburg, a real Satmar lady. She wears 4 things on top of her head. And she always says, Gimel Tammuz, I do twice a week. I do these little things. Gimel Tammuz, she called me after I finished. And I was crying. I didn't mean to, but that's what happened. She says, I don't understand you. We also had a Rebbe. We cried the first year, the second year. We don't cry 26 years later. So I said to her, you didn't have my Rebbe. You didn't have my Rebbe. Now she wrote me today. There's a story going around with the Satmar Chassid that went to the Yale, or somebody went to the Yale. She says, I want to go to the Yale when I come back from the country. I've never been.
When I come back from the country.
So we're lucky, of course. I said to her, we're very lucky. Ashreinu, Ashreinu, Ashreinu. But the Rebbe is very lucky. Because he is who he is. That's why you guys are who you are.
That's all. Do you read the Hair magazine? You enjoy it?
Sometimes, yes. Yes.
Yeah. So that's where I met Rebbe Golden. I had no idea anything about Rebbe.
I didn't know he was in that hair. I gotta find it.
Beautiful write-up about him. A beautiful
I must find it.
And there, he had a very hard life, like most people at his age. A very hard life. He helped the Frierdiker Rebbe through a terrible illness. On top of everything else.
I must get that hair. We just had a Beis Rivka reunion, and I got up. I wasn't on the program. I got up and I said, nobody mentioned Rabbi Goldin. Nobody mentioned Rabbi Majeski. Nobody mentioned Rabbi Saul Jacobson. Those are the people that put up this school. I got to read that hair. I must find it. And Mrs. Gisa Matlin, my teacher from the time I was a little girl in Paris. These are
Tell me her name again.
Gisa Matlin.
Yeah.
She was Reb Shaya Matlin's wife.
Yeah.
And she was our teacher in Paris, in Boissy, in Montmorency, and then in New York.
And what did you learn from her?
Everything. She taught me how to write.
Yeah.
She told me about Teresh Bachsav and Teresh Balpeh. I was a little girl. I left Paris. I was 9 years old.
Mrs. Swerdlov, this is what I'm trying to get at. There was not God forbid to denigrate anything or to be negative.
For my great-grandchildren, they're here. Go ahead.
But there was a time when Yira Shamayim was the highest value. Poshte Yira Shamayim. In English, it doesn't translate very well. God-fearingness. Just to be a God-fearing person. And these people that I've heard of so much about, but I didn't know them. They're Yira Shamayim. So somebody asked Moshe Feller, why did you get up and daven mincha in Velvel Green's office? Where did you get the courage to do that? He looks at them like they're crazy. He says, "Es ha'elokim ani yarei."
Yeah, yarei.
That's ha'elokim ani yarei.
Elokim ani yarei.
That's ha'elokim. But with such a pshittis. Like,
of course.
Yira Shamayim. Yeah, mitzvah, this is Torah, this is the Eibishter, and you are. So when I'm asking you all these questions, I'm not trying to dig up your diary. I'm trying to hear from you about, for example, this teacher of yours, and about the Itchik Gold, and all these people that you grew up with. These people lived and breathed Yira Shamayim. They weren't Rebbes, but they were Chassidim. They were God-fearing people of the truest kind. And
so let me say something.
Yeah.
See this?
Yeah.
It's a horrible thing. Rebichka didn't have this. Rebichka didn't have this thing that I'm speaking to you on. Meir Gisa didn't have this. I think you shluchim today and my 12th graders that I just finished teaching I just canceled camp. I run an incredible program in Eretz Yisrael, and we go to Hadish and to Nezhin and to Mezhibush, it's an incredible program. I watch little American girls who some don't even know that you're not allowed to put on makeup on Shabbos. Rebbeina de Almekula. They just don't know. Or they say, my mother does it. But I watch them stand by the Alter Rebbe and cry. We start the Alter Rebbe's niggin and they start crying like babies. We spend Shabbos in Mezhibush and they can't get away from the kever. I keep telling him that Shabbos he's not there, but they want to be in the Baal Shem's Dalet Namas. And they all have this. Rabichka Goldin didn't have this in his world. Rabichka Goldin had a Spaklario Meiros, straight, as did Meira Gise. Our girls today have telephones and televisions and computers and kol davar asur. The whole world is open to them, and yet they are who they are. I think it's incredible. I think when Moshe Rabbeinu saw this generation, Chol Shodaite Shel Moshe, Moshe was in awe of this generation. I'm in awe of you, Calabasas. Every time you write something, I'm in awe. You're not in Neville. You're not in Stara Sokolnike. You're not even in Atvotsk. You're in Calabasas, California. And where did you come from? Minneapolis, Minnesota. And that's who you are? Your Yerushalayim is okay. The Mrem's children's Yerushalayim is okay. Herr, was it's Feltuns, yeah? I have a grandson in San Francisco. Do you know what kind of shlichus that is? Was Feltuns, but his little boys are singing Chassidish and Nigunim. What else do we want? With all the schlep, I'm not going to let you put us down. Do I get upset? Heck yes. Do I think Bonesfeld? Heck yes. I even say heck, which isn't so good, yeah? Yeah. But I think we're incredible. Not me, but me sometimes. And the Rebbe's children, and the Rebbe's grandchildren, and the Rebbe's great-grandchildren. I have a little great-grandson here now. His name is Yosef Posner. His parents and his grandfather, Mendy Posner, and his father, Levi Posner, I shluch him in a place called Plantation, Florida. Do you know this little boy sits and sings Vehisha Omdo with all the kvetches? He's 2 years old. And then he goes like this. He says, like the Rebbe, like the Rebbe. My God, wow. Wow. That's only one. There's a whole batch of them.
Nicham Tonu.
Heck, I really hope you're running out of questions.
I have two more pictures to show you. Okay. Here's the first one. Tell me if you recognize this person and if you have anything to say about him. I didn't even know who it was when I saw the picture.
You didn't know it was Reb Yael?
No.
My God, he's incredible. I wish he looked like that today. As Ozangisund. Reb Yael is way above, and he's above and beyond everything. That mind, he's so incredible. That mind, that head, if we could pickle it, the amount of knowledge, the amount of depth. I don't even have the words. I don't have the words. Who's here? 1 second, I'm sorry. I also have other things in life to do. Which one? Hi, come on in. What's your name? Oh, okay. Hi, Z-Side. I'm sorry about Cam. Give me a hug. I'm sorry. I was so looking forward to it. Yeah. So next year, Emir Tashem. Do we shake on that? Okay, next year. Mashiach's coming, so together with him. I canceled Cam. Fogel, the one that's, give it to me. 1 minute. I'm sorry, 1 minute. I have to give back money. It says Fogel on here. Jay Fogel, this one here. This one is yours, Skype. See you next year, Amir Tashem. No, it's for this. This one is for. I'm sorry. Yes, go ahead.
You're lucky they're not taking your dining room table.
What? Yeah. You know what? I learned a lot from that. By the way, you can't see it, but my kitchen table is round. Do you know why? Because of that round table at Discoudieu in Paris.
By the way, do you have any idea where the top is?
We left to come to America. Mullah's bike didn't make it. My top didn't make it. Leia's album made it. Shalom Ber's Bichl Chassidus made it. My father's Teirer made it. Yeah. And my mother's dishes, everybody got some.
Oh yeah, you have one within reach.
I don't want to talk about it. It broke.
Okay, so let's go back to Reb Yoel. Reb Yoel Khan is your brother-in-law. Do you know how funny that is?
You interviewed your
funny
father
that
about Reb Yael.
I know,
I'm
but that
only
was
a
as a
sister-in-law.
Talmud. That was as a Talmud. This is as a Shveged. That's
Oh,
a
he
whole.
was incredible. A very, very warm family man.
You know, I heard. You know who I heard a compliment about Reb Yoel Khan from? My mother-in-law. Came to California for a wedding. Very cooperative with the pictures. Didn't give a hard time, but come to the picture, sit in the picture.
Must have been my son's wedding.
With Schwartzy.
Yeah, my son Yossi. It was our wedding. He's in general a cooperative person. He's a mensch. He does what he has to. He's good. He's a family man.
Okay, I'm going to show you a picture. This one I can't resist, even though it's personal. It's personal for me. So let me put this down. Bye, 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 bye. You recognize such a person?
Rabbi Yechanan?
Yes.
Man, I'm so glad I did it.
Yes, you did.
You know what? I'll tell you something. I cheated. When you said it had something to do with you, I know who your mother is. So I said, oh, Rabbi Yechanan, of course.
This is my great-grandfather, Rabbi Yechanan Gordon.
A pikach durchgetrieben. So I have to tell you, our first two children are girls. Judy Friedman and Chani Seitlin. And it isn't Tay Tavis. I have to look it up. It's not both Davis. I think it's Yud Aleph Davis, her birthday. I have to look it up. Forgive me. Or Yud Zion. I'm 75.
Not Chav Ches. That was my only point. It wasn't Chav Ches Davis.
No. Anyhow. So when Chani was born and my husband was going up to the Teda to give the name, Rabbi Yechanan was the Gabe, yeah? So what did he say to you? A kosher behemoth that holds face simonim. He told it to my father?
Yeah.
The Tata was going up to give the name.
No, your father told him when Yudi was born that he had a girl.
Yeah.
He said, Bast Chilo, Simen Yofa Lubonim.
Okay.
Geborn this weiter, your father walked over to him and said, no, was because the kosher behemoth that holds face simonim.
Okay, you heard it? My father walked up to Rabbi Yechanan and he said that I had a girl. So Rabbi Yechanan said, Bast Chilo Simon Lebonim. When Chani was born a year later, my father said to Rabbi Yechanan, was okter jetzt? So he said, a kosher behemoth that holds face simonim. Our next child is a boy.
Exactly. He said the same thing when my mother was born.
You're kidding.
He said to his own son, Tzvei Simonim. Because his first was Yecheved and then my mother.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about something. I can't put up a picture, and I don't know if you're going to want to talk about, but I want to know if you had any experiences with Rebbe Tzedachai Mushka.
Yes, of course I did. Of course I did.
Something you can talk to us about?
Yeah, why not? I mean, what I could talk, I could talk. What I can't talk, I can talk. We went there for every family occasion. For big birthdays, for Upshedanischen, for Bas Mitzvahs, for Bar Mitzvahs. Rebbe Tzemosya. I'm not going to say.
Is that what you call her?
Yeah.
Rebbe Musia?
Yeah.
Okay.
What should I call her?
Everybody else calls her Rebbe Mushka.
Because that's what they called her later.
Okay, that's very interesting. That's very.
But do you
very
understand? Later, that's what she was known as. I've known her. She was Rebbe Tzemosya to us. In fact, my grandchildren, most of them who are named for her, we call them Musya, not Chaimushka.
You
That's what she
named them or call them?
No, name them Chayamushka, call them Musya.
Okay.
So let me think of a story that I could tell you. I could tell you one cute story. My daughter Basi Chaskind, that's how I know how incredible our today's shluchim are. Our kids, our grandchildren, they're doing what they have to. So Basi was born after I already had grandchildren. For Chani's wedding, that Chani that was named for Rebbe Chana, Basi was 9 months old. It was Chav Zayin Oder. Everyone was coming from Israel for the wedding. There was no caller ID on the phone. And the phone rings, and I pick up the phone, and I say, hello. And it's Rebbe Musya. And she says, Was macht ihr? How are you? And I'll tell you the truth, I was honest in that moment. I had a 9-month-old baby. I had a house full of people. It was chadarom, rom. So I said, Rebbetzin, ich darf haben mehr Zirpenia. We spoke half Russian and half Yiddish. I need more. Zirpenia means patience. And she said, she didn't miss a beat. She said, Geld and money. And I was going to say to her, if you mention it to your husband, I'll be okay. She was pragmatic. She understood. She was there in a second. Because what I needed that moment, I had a crying baby, every nephew, Baruch Hashem, my brother, my sister-in-law, my children, married children from Israel with their babies, and Erev Pesach. And I needed patience und Geld. She was an incredible woman. She understood. She got to the point.
So you used to take you said you were, for every simcha, she was involved. You went over there?
No. See, you do Rice Krispie stuff.
Yeah.
You said she was involved. That's cornflakes. No, she wasn't involved. We went to Malchus. She wasn't involved. It wasn't, hey, what are you wearing? No. It was Malchus. I'm sorry, are you upset when I say Rice Krispies or cornflakes?
When you say cornflakes, no. When you say Rice Krispies, yeah. Because cornflakes is good.
Okay.
No, I'm not upset at all. In fact, this is why I wanted to hear from you. So you went over to, she invited you over to come for these things?
No. Again, cornflakes.
But you
She
couldn't go
didn't
over without an
invite-
invitation.
We called.
Invited yourself?
We called. We asked, could we come? We were told, klingt morgen. We geklunkt morgen. And we were told, nicht heint, klingt morgen. And we said, wie viel Zeger? And we did exactly what we were told. And bechilu birodo. She wasn't involved. She asked involved questions. She wanted to know. She was very, very heflich. She was very interested. She served ice cream, yeah. Did you have to say that? Okay, so my husband said ice cream, so I'll tell you that story. Not a very nice story. We went with everybody. Children, grandchildren. You name the age, they were there. We come to the house, a white starch tablecloth, tall crystal glasses, not a la cornflakes, you understand. Crystal plates. And she decided to serve chocolate ice cream. I'm there with a bunch of babies, and she's serving chocolate ice cream that I've seen. So I'm sitting back, and I went like this. The kids shouldn't take. So none of the kids are taking ice cream. So she says to them, "Farbos nehmt ihr nicht the ice cream?" They're sitting scared to death. I'm going. And she looks at me, and she understood. So she says to them, "Die Mama hat geheißen dich nehmen." Your mother, also grandmother, said not to take, and the whole kit and caboodle went like this. So she turned to me and went like this. I don't know what happened after that. I don't know what happened to the ice cream. I don't know what happened to the tablecloth. I don't know nothing. I know I was so humiliated. My goodness, I'm so happy my children are married, because after this interview, I would have a hard time marrying off the kids.
I'm finally.
What time is it, Rabbi?
It's like about 2:30, about 5:30 by you.
6:30? An hour and a half you did this? Oh my God.
We're almost done.
Good. We better be.
We're almost done.
I'm almost done.
My Zayda said that he remembers laying in bed and hearing his father, Rabbi Yechanan, reciting poetry in the kitchen. The poetry went like this. Goydel haschar ve'oynesh hamar al meinei abar. Goydel haschar ve'oynesh hamar al meinei abar. He was chazering Tanya Balpeh, and he thought that he was reciting poetry.
I didn't menea nothing today.
Well, we're not done yet.
Oh, yes, we are.
The Behemoths are very hungry. So we spoke about some very, very special, beautiful people. But the one thing we didn't talk about is the Rebbe. The Rebbe, not the Ramash. The Rebbe. And you did not only know the Rebbe when he was Ramash and in Paris and know his mother, but you've lived in Crown Heights forever, and you were with him every day of every month of every year. So I know I can't say, I know you could sit there for another 10 hours and talk about your experiences with the Rebbe, but I know that there's a limited koyach.
I'm just going to tell you one thing.
So tell me one thing or two.
No, the concept. My husband and I and the children went into Yechidus. And when we came out, my father was waiting for us. And he said to me, Merole, dus gehat kiruvim? If the Rebbe gave us like closeness, like relatives. And I answered, the Rebbe shall soll uns hitten. Ich bin ein reiner Chassid, und ein Ruisa Chassid. We went in Chassidim and we came out Chassidim. The Rebbe changed the world. I have to tell you, I spoke in Yerushalayim. It's called Zvil, a very big hall. And there were a few Lubavitchers, but it was totally not Lubavitch. I speak a lot in the not Lubavitch world. And it was like now, it was out of the 3 weeks. And I talked about Binyan Beis HaMikdash, not about Churban, only about Binyan. And what the Rebbe wanted, yeah. And I said, the Rebbe changed the world. And a lady in the back raised her hand, and she's raising it and raising it. I'll tell you the truth, I was afraid to call on her. I didn't know what the heck she would say. I was a little afraid. I said, and she's waving at me. So I said, yes. And she said, you're wrong. You said the Rebbe changed the world. He's changing the world. This was after Gimel Tammuz. Changing the world. The Rebbe's changing the world. Who else has that kind of keches? Who else has that kind of an army? We're the luckiest people in the world to be part of Rebbe's army. Gives us a raison d'etre, gives us a reason for being, gives us a reason to do what we're doing. I was just offered a job in Borough Park to teach 1 day a week to developmentally, I don't know how to say the other word, seminary, in a seminary where there are developmentally slow girls. And when I told my principal in school that I'm taking this job an hour a week, she says, that's not a job, that's a shlichus. And you're getting paid for it, be happy. It's a shlichus. Whatever we do is a shlichus. And the Rebbe gave it to us. I thank him every day. Now we say Kuf Yotes, and I don't mind sharing this with your audience. I have a Yechidus with the Rebbe every day for 10 minutes, because it takes me 10 minutes to say Kuf Yotes. So I have a Yechidus every day for 10 minutes, because those are the kechas that we get. Ashrei Tmimei Derech, huh? It's unbelievable what the Rebbe has done for the world. How would this world look without him? And 26 years later, we're going stronger and stronger. Again, I'm going to say, look at you in Calabasas. I never even knew how to say that word. Sounds like salami in Russian. Kolbas. No?
It means pumpkin.
It means pumpkin?
Yeah.
Well, to somebody from Neville, it means kolbas.
Did you go to the Rebbe's Farbrengens?
Of course.
Regularly, religiously?
Sure. I don't know if I was so religious, but regularly, yeah.
And you were close to Rebbe Tzanchana?
Very.
She used to go to every Farbrengen? Or to
No.
some Farbrengens?
No, some. Okay, ask your last question, but ich hab merken keach nicht.
Wanneer zijn lecha koyach?
Avremel does it better.
You. I want to take away his parnosa.
Don't worry, you won't.
I want you told us about the Rebbe changed the world. I want one story from you about the Rebbe with you, and then I'll let you go, maybe.
I think that the best story that I could say, and I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
But it's worth listening to again. When the Rebbe didn't see us for 7 years, he said, Kinder, ihr gedenkt mir, ich gedenk euch gut. Children, do you remember me? I remember you well. At any minute, the Rebbe remembers us well. He really remembers us well. Not just those of us who sang Ami Ami, Pipi Pipi, Tolki Gangi, Nai Nai Nai. Not just those, but every single one of us Chassidim. Even those that were born after Gimel Tammuz. Rabbi, even your children, way after Gimel Tammuz, in Calabasas, California. And not because you're Manas' son, and not because you're Shalom's relative, and not because you're I forgot his first name. Your father-in-law's son-in-law. No.
Shtul.
Not because of that. Shtul, right. I didn't know how to say it. Yeah. Because we're Chassidim. And he remembers us well. And at any minute, he's going to come and he's going to say, Kinder, ihr gedenkt mir, ich gedenk euch gut. And we will need to answer, Yetate mir gedenken. We remember. But not just we remember and we do what we're supposed to. Each one of us in our own way. Each one of us in our little teeny way or our big way. And that Rebbe should always help him that it should happen at any second, because I'm sick and tired of this golus.
Das ist doch kein koyach. Azay is so schwer.
That's right.
Mrs. Swerdlov, thank you very, very much.
You're welcome.
Ta'arichi yomim al mamlachdech. And may your Talmidos make you very, very proud and give you a lot of nechas and
Amen.
children and grandchildren.
Great-grandchildren.
Grandchildren, Kenaina Hada. Ashias Goyel Tzedek, Gesundheit and Freiligkeit.
I just have to tell you, when you told me that I'm following Marshal Lazar, and he was so terrific. I got really scared, so I hope I was okay.
Americans in general are not afraid of Italians as a general rule. And since your husband is sitting over there, I have to tell him that he's also, just like you were a movie star when I was a kid, he was also from the same movie.
We were a movie star because we were in that movie together.
Last Lady movie. It was very, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.